The teachers union in Danville says they will strike if there's no agreement after today's bargaining session. How close are they to an agreement?
Well, Ben, it's hard to say for sure, but coming into today, neither side was willing to call progress significant. The two sides started talks a little before 2 this afternoon. This marks the 4th meeting with a federal mediator on hand. Now, we'll keep you updated on what happens today in negotiations, and we'll do so a little later on at 10. For now, let's go back to Ben in Champaign.
After 14 hours of last-ditch talks, the two sides did not reach an agreement. That means, again, there will be no school today in Danville District 118. ABC News Channel 15's AJ Bayatpour has been following this story all night and now joins us live from the Vermilion County Bureau. AJ, there are no future sessions scheduled at this point, are there?
Nope, there aren't, Bridget. Now, teachers say the biggest roadblock in negotiations is the district's insistence on a hard salary freeze. Well, that's been a main sticking point since talks heated up back in the spring. As a result of the strike, almost all extracurricular activities are now on hold. The only exception is a handful of sports. Girls soccer, boys tennis, and the top-ranked football team can practice with non-union coaches. However, state rules prohibit them from playing games during a strike.
Joins us now live from the district office in Danville. AJ?
Well, Bridget, as you can see, the teachers are still picketing here outside of the District 118 office in Danville. Now, the picket began in full force about 8:30 today, and if you ask any of these teachers why they're here and what their motive is, many of them will say the same thing. It's about more than just money. Now, another sticking point here has been what the district does with a $2.5 million grant it will receive from the federal government. The DEA wants to see that money used to bring back laid-off nurses and teachers, and although the district agrees that it should and will use that money to bring back staff, it wants to be more cautious with those funds because they're good for just 2 years, and the district worries that in a couple of years when that money runs out, the state will still be in a fiscal mess, and we could be right where we were last March with a series of layoffs. Now, we do not know when the next negotiating session will take place. One has not been scheduled. As for tonight, the school board will meet in a closed session for an update on the strike. Live in Danville, AJ Bayatpour, ABC News Channel 15.
But less than a week later, teachers declared an intent to strike.
And that brings us to today. The union called a strike at about 4 o'clock this morning.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with ABC News Channel 15's AJ Bayatpour. He joins us live in Danville. AJ.
Well, Aaron, a huge sticking point so far has been what the union calls a hard salary freeze. Now, the Danville Education Association has said it wants to negotiate items individually. The district, on the other hand, has preferred packaged proposals. Now, the two sides exchanged ideas for more than 14 hours last night through a federal mediator. The DEA declared it would strike around 4 o'clock this morning. Teachers say it's not just about the money. They want to negotiate future class sizes, the amount of nurses, retirement benefits, and employee safety. Now, we found out earlier this afternoon the school board had canceled a closed session meeting it had set for 6 o'clock. They were to discuss how the strike was coming along and where that stood. Now, as of now, there are no future negotiating sessions planned, so it's almost certain that there'll be no school tomorrow.
Two sides return to the table tonight, hoping to end the strike after 3 days without school.
ABC News Channel 15's AJ Bayatpour joins us live from our Vermilion County Bureau. And AJ, anything new to report?
Well, Aaron, all we know so far is they're still talking. Now, the two sides have a lot of work to do if they're to get this settled tonight. The biggest issue over the last 5 months has been whether the teachers will take a salary freeze. The average teacher salary in Illinois is more than $58,000. We counted 143 teachers in the district who make more than that. This is the first round of negotiations since the DEA called a strike early Monday morning. And both sides have said they're always willing to talk, but have needed a federal mediator for the last 5 sessions. In fact, the two sides had to wait until tonight because that's when the mediator was free. The district would not commit to meeting in the future without a mediator. Aaron?
All right, AJ, thank you for that. School, again, is back in session today after teachers and the school board reached a tentative agreement early this morning. We're talking like 1:30. ABC News Channel 15's AJ Bayatpour has been following the story all night long and joins us live with the latest from our Vermilion County Bureau. AJ?
Well, Bridget, it took another 7 hours of negotiating, but the two sides made a deal a little after 1 o'clock this morning, as you said. Now, the main thing parents and students need to know is that school will go on as normal this morning. All we know so far about the deal is that it's a 2-year contract. Students will return to the classroom after the strike kept schools closed for 3 days. By Monday night, we'll find out if the district will make up those strike days and what kind of concessions each side made. Now, a little later on in the show, we'll go back and take you through the 5 months that led to the strike and this morning's resolution. For now, let's go back to Bridget in Champaign. These Danville teachers got their wish. Wednesday was their final day on the picket line.
Both parties worked hard to find a creative solution to resolve the outstanding issues.
The problems began in March. Teachers walked out of a school board meeting after board president Bill Dobble suggested teachers take a salary freeze. His comments came as the district proposed cutting more than 80 workers. Fast forward to August. After unsuccessful meetings through a federal mediator, teachers file an intent to strike August 26th. The two sides meet 2 more times, unsuccessfully.
We were not able to reach an agreement after many attempts by the DEA team to try and come to some type of fair agreement.
We were hopeful of a settlement tonight. Both sides were here for over 13 hours. Very much regret to report that the DEA has decided one strike.
Let this be the last day we gonna strike.
Schools closed for 3 days. The two sides came back to the table Wednesday night. After 7 hours, the DEA and District 118 announced a new contract.
School will be in session Thursday morning. Buses will be rolling, breakfast will be served. We look forward to opening up our schools again, and good night.
Even though there's a contract, many questions still remain. The idea of a salary freeze was a major sticking point throughout negotiations. Which teachers will get a raise? We also learned the district will receive a federal grant of $2.5 million. How will the school board spend that money? We expect to get answers to those questions Monday night. But Bridget, the most important question, when will schools reopen, now has an answer this morning.
All right, I have another important question for you before we let you go, AJ. How many of those Mountain Dews have you had this morning?
Surprisingly, just one, but I finished it, and I'm really wired, and I'm probably going to hit the wall a little bit later this morning, so I hope I don't ruin midday for you.
No, hang in there for us, AJ. AJ, have you seen many people going into the school this morning?
Well, Bridget, actually, the first teachers just started coming into the high school here within the last few minutes, and some early bird students are actually starting to show up as well, so a nice little mix of students and teachers, not too many, but a couple starting to get here at the high school.
Also, I know a lot of people have been worried about the football game on Friday night. Danville High School ranked #1. They're supposed to play Centennial this Friday. Are they still planning on having that game Friday night?
The game's on, Bridget. IHSA rules simply say if there's a strike, there's no games that day, but with school back in session today, Friday should not be a problem, and this is such a huge deal for this community. Really, you walk around and certainly people value the education above anything else, but they're also quick to say that they cannot recall anything that's rallied this community like this football team has over the last couple of years with its deep run to the Final Four last fall and its top ranking in the state 6A division. People would, well, quite frankly, they were saying they would not be able to forgive either the teachers or the school board if the football team had to forfeit this Friday's game against Centennial. Now, I'll be curious to see if a few weeks down the road, if the teachers and board members will confess that this football game had something to do with adding a little urgency to this. But Bridget, there's no doubt that this community is very appreciative that the football game is back on for Friday in Champaign.
Okay, and this has been a long time coming, AJ. I know briefly we're running out of time, but just give us a quick wrap of how long this has been going on since April, right?
Bridget, this actually went back to the spring, like you said. It went to late March. The school board had a discussion about cutting teachers. Somebody had brought up salaries, and the teachers walked out, and really it started kind of a contentious relationship there. But the most important thing is that the teachers and school board have agreed, and we will have school today in Danville.